Okay. So thank you. And again, my name is Roger Hale, the Director of Information Security for Brocade. And working for Brocade is actually really big opportunity here because we are an industry and we're trying to really define where the internet's going, where the cloud computing is going, and virtualization and mobility from a networking standpoint as well. So a little bit about Brocade. We were founded in 1995. We've got over 4,600 employees. We're headquartered here in San Jose. We operate in over 160 countries with manufacturing on multiple continents. And as I hope a lot of you here are actually our customers. You guys use Brocade at all in your data centers? And so what we've been able to do, and one of the exciting things of why I actually came to Brocade is because we're in the industry, we're actually able to drink your own champagne, eat your own cookie, and however you want to say it. But we actually, get to start thinking about these not just from an internal IT perspective, but also from a product perspective, and where the cloud computing or where virtualization mobility is going to go tomorrow. And that's one of the opportunities at Brocade. So coming to Brocade, like with a lot of other companies, the first thing fell around, is it company-owned phones? That seemed to be the thing. Did the company own phones? What carrier did you use? How did you tie that into the different areas? So one size doesn't really fit all. And those are some of the challenges, as well as the standard of service. The different carriers work great in one area, not in another. And so we weren't creating a standard of quality across the world, basically, for Brocade from the standpoint of being able to do mobile computing and mobility. And what we were able to do is we were able to look at all of those challenges. We made a change in 2007 where we went to a stipended program. We got away from the majority of the company-owned phones. We went to the consumerization point. We actually allowed the individual to choose their phone and pick their phones. Now, of course, we gave them guidelines to work with from there. But what we were able to do is we were able to actually bring the actual cost of mobility back into the departments and in the teams to where they had visibility, they had reporting structure, so that they could really see what the impact of mobility was, what the cost factors of that were as well. So it wasn't IT saying no or IT saying thou shalt do this. We really brought that back and brought that accountability back to the individuals. And with our Brocade One strategy and with where we're moving for the future and more of the convergent network structure, we're also doing the same thing from a mobility platform. And so what we wanted to do there was actually build and look at a foundation base that we could provide to the company that then we weren't actually stopping them from being able to develop what they wanted to develop or how they want to develop, whether it's thick client apps, thin client apps, rich client apps, whether it was going to be iOS and it was going to be embedded in a native platform or whether it was going to be an agnostic platform. But at the same point, we needed visibility across all that so we could actually enable and actually work with them on that. And so that's the goal, and that's what we're actually building for right now. And the whole goal is, data growth is going. There's no end in sight, and who's going to help you manage it? And that's from the IT perspective of what we've actually done from inside Brocade, as well as the way that we do our actual marketing strategy for our products. And so we actually live that inside Brocade as well as the product side.
Okay, thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
David, why don't we switch over here from Pepsi?
Thank you.
Just advance it. There you go.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, I'd like to talk you through some slides, high-level ideas that has helped us get some ideas moving forward in PepsiCo in terms of what we call emergent mobility, a new type of capabilities we're delivering for our frontline and for all of our PepsiCo associates as well. First, an introductory for PepsiCo. PepsiCo is not just about Pepsi-Cola. We're a large company. We sell food as well as beverages. You're all very familiar, I hope, with Frito-Lay products. We also have Quaker, Tropicana, Gatorade, and many brands that you may not know that are PepsiCo, including Rice-A-Roni, Easy, the sparkling beverages. We also have Sabra, the hummus. So a very diversified company. We're operating over 200 countries as well, and selling lots and lots of localized flavors and localized products as well. So like shrimp flavored Cheetos up in the Far East and the like, right? So we're a very diversified company. We have about 280,000 employees globally, and revenues of $60 billion overall. So again, we operate in all business models from direct store delivery to warehouse to franchise agreements as well. What I'd like to start talking about is, what is the big deal about these mobile applications? And through the work that we've done, we've identified, or at least I have identified, a few some key trends that I think are transforming the way that we're thinking about mobile applications in an enterprise. And just a disclaimer, when I talk about the capabilities, I think somebody was disappointed that I was not talking about how I'm putting like a Facebook inside an application. I think what we're going to talk about is more capabilities you are seeing emerging in consumer applications that are all seeping into the enterprise. And I'd like to start talking about 5 items. One is location-based services. Before the advent of the smartphones for consumers, really location-based services was really difficult or non-existent. Now with Google Maps on my device, I can do hundreds of things. Find the closest cinema. I can find the closest restaurant, directions, etc. And I think those capabilities are now being expected by the enterprise. So why can I have something like that in my smartphone that help me find the store where I'm not selling, for example? The social networking aspect. We've talked a lot about Facebook in terms of connecting with peers. And I think there was a conversation earlier today that said that really mobile users on Facebook are more active than desktop users. And I think what people coming into the enterprise today will be expecting to be able to connect with their peers in similar ways. And I think mobile aspects will be a critical aspect as well. Instant access to information, and this goes without saying. Right now, you can be everywhere that you have a signal and get information on the go. I think right now it's a good thing, a bad thing, because now you're expected to get access to information everywhere. The excuse that I didn't know that it was happening is probably not as prevalent now as it was before. Personalization. There was some conversation earlier today about the size of the screen. And I think it's going to be critical in terms of thinking about the user experience. We don't have the real estate to do 100 things. So how do we take the best aspects of personalizing the experience to the user to make it easier for them in terms of using the application? And enhanced reality, I think this is an ethereal concept right now. We're beginning to see some applications on enhanced reality. I expect some of those to be seeping into the enterprise. One of the ones that we heard earlier today was taking a photo of a person and dressing the person up with what the apparel at the store. That could be as simple as that. And all these capabilities together will create several implications for the enterprise, especially for IT development teams that are serving the customers. One of them is applications will now start spanning enterprises and consumers. I mean, you're beginning to see applications by other CPG companies or other consumer packaged goods companies that are being out there and promoting their products. But as well, some internal applications with some of these capabilities will start showing up in the enterprise as well. The release cycle is different. Before, when you talk about big projects in IT, you go through a long cycle to get funding. Once you get the funding, it's a long cycle to get the application developed. It goes into a baseline sustaining mode. Now, with these applications, you can release an application, let's say, in 2 months or 3 months. First version doesn't have to be 100% of what you need. Just think on how the iPhone was developed. The first iPhone only had, 10 apps? Now, but it was out. They learned, and the next release was much better. And actually, this enables us to take features away that we know they're not working as well. So it's a different way of thinking of how you develop applications. Applications can be very creative. It's not, I hear, when you think about IT, also like the traditional web-based applications, very square, very efficient in data entry. Now with these mobile devices, we can have, one user told me, we can put the fun back into selling, for example. You know why? Because they could be very interactive. I turn the iPhone, I swipe, I pinch in, and I can have a very more engaging conversation with somebody when I'm trying to showcase in this. There's just so much you can do in terms of the user experience to also increase the adoption of your application. It's not just about what they tell me, you're just gold plating your application. I mean, it's not needed. But really, when you think about how we deploy applications, the field people might think, there's another app or another solution coming from the headquarters, they're cramming down our throat. I would rather have the experience tell me, you know what, the application is awesome, I use it every day because it's so easy to use, it's so engaging. So it also makes a business sense in terms of uptake of the applications. And again, the applications are designed to create an experience. Before, we talked about like single-purpose applications, but you can also talk about some applications which are more complex. Think about the Flickster application, where I could be out anywhere, if I want to go to the movies, I can find a theater that is close to me. I can see which movies are being played. I can watch the trailer. I can buy the tickets and go. I mean, that's a whole experience in itself. So this is a different way how do you think about applications. Now, in terms of innovation, we talk about creating all these forces are prime for innovation. And I think from how do you approach this so different in terms of how you create that experience. And we think about 3 areas in terms of innovation. One is desirability of the solution. Are you really building a solution that people will want and say, we'll have the pull for getting this solution? The viability. Really, is it a business critical application that the business will say, we see a value, a business value out of this application? And the last piece is the feasibility. I may say, I can create an application that will forecast 5 years out what you're going to be selling in a store. It's probably not feasible. However, if you find the balance between the 3, most likely you'll get a winner. And I think I stumbled when I was introduced about 2 years ago. We stumbled into one application that was the confluence of the 3 that really helped us get the message out about how these mobile applications were changing the landscape. And I apologize for the light font, but really, how is this playing for our team? If you want to hear a story of how we're changing the mobile application landscape within the enterprise, it's a very simple message. We are a team, or we're creating teams that create products. We're not just looking for the hyper-personalization of one application. We're trying to create more products we can leverage across multiple teams. We're looking for over-the-air distribution, and this is where having an enterprise application store is extremely critical. Without it, you could have the best applications, but distributing it, I can tell you, is going to be a pain. I can tell you that without something like this, you can probably support 30 users. Why? Because one of the items I mentioned before is the quick turnaround in creating applications. And that's the moment you get version 1.2 or 1.1 and trying to chase all the users, which I have had to do where I'm waiting outside their offices with the Mac and getting ready to install the app when they walk in, it's not going to work. You need a facility that allows you to make that distribution seamless as well. And we had to focus on the user experience. Some of the items, some of the early applications I saw from third-party vendors that were working with us, it looked like web-based data entry screens, where I'm thinking, I could probably use a different way to make it easier to use. So we had to focus on what and the user experience. I like to say it's probably some measure that we had to make sure that technology works for our users, not to have our users work for the technology. And we had to be an agile team. I think one of the dangers that we see in working with these type of applications is there's a high level of excitement once you start to showcase it. And that excitement starts to wane away very quick afterwards if you don't showcase the progress that you're taking the input into consideration, making getting that input back into the applications. So it's almost, I would say, tiring when I'm talking with my executives, and they're very excited the first time with the application is the best thing they've ever seen. 2 months later, it's like, okay, so what's next? You're raising the bar constantly, which is also interesting because it keeps you on your toes.